सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। So the 6 verses we will chant together. Guru Paduka Stotram. Ananta samsara samudratara naukayitabhyam guru bhaktidabhyam vairagya samrajyada pujanabhyam namo namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam कवित्ववाराशिनिशाकराभ्यां दौर्भाग्यदावाम्बुदमालिकाभ्यां दूरीकृतानम्रविपत्ततिभ्यां नमो नमः श्रीगुरुपादुकाभ्यां नताययो श्रीपतितां समीयुः कदाचिदप्याशुदरिद्रवर्याः मूकाश्च वाचस्पतितां हिताभ्यां नमो नमः श्रीगुरुपादुकाभ्यां नालीकनिकाशपदाहृताभ्यां नानाविमोहादिनिवारिकाभ्यां नमज्जनाभीष्टततिप्रदाभ्यां नमो नमः श्रीगुरुपादुकाभ्यां नृपालिमौले व्रजरत्नकान्ति सरिद्विराजझषकन्यकाभ्यां नृपत्वदाभ्यां नतलोकपङ्क्तेः नमो नमः श्रीगुरुपादुकाभ्यां पापान्धकारार्कपरम्पराभ्यां तापत्रयाहीन्द्रखगेश्वराभ्यां जाड्याब्धिसंशोषणवाडवाभ्यां नमो नमः श्रीगुरुपादुकाभ्याम्। Now you can repeat. Shamadishakapradavaiභवाभ्याम् समाधिदानव्रतदीक्षिताभ्याम् रमाधवाङ्घ्रिस्थिरभक्तिदाभ्याम् नमो नमः श्रीगुरुपादुकाभ्याम् स्वार्चापराणामखिलेष्टदाभ्याम् स्वाहा सहायाक्षधुरन्धराभ्याम् स्वान्ताच्छभावप्रदपूजनाभ्याम् नमो नमः श्रीगुरुपादुकाभ्याम् कामादिसर्पव्रजगारुडाभ्याम् विवेकवैराग्यनिधिप्रदाभ्याम् बोधप्रदाभ्यां धृतमोक्षदाभ्याम् नमो नमः श्रीगुरुपादुकाभ्याम् That is Bodha Pradabhyam Druta. That half that small line is missing there. Is Druta Mokshadabhyam. So what does these verses say? Shamadhi Shatka Pradavai Bhavabhyam. Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. The worship of the Padukas will bless the student with that. What are the Shatka Sampatti? Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhidana Vrata Dikshitabhyam. They have taken a vrata. The Padukas have taken a vrata that the student will get initiated into Samadhi. Samadhidana Vrata Dikshitabhyam. Whoever worships the Padukas, that person will experience Samadhi. If that surrender of the ego is complete, Samadhi one will definitely experience. Samadhidana Vrata Dikshitabhyam. Ramadhavangri Sthira Bhakti Dabhyam. They will give steady devotion towards the Supreme Lord. Ramadhava is Vishnu Bhagavan. Rama is Lakshmi Devi and Dhava means husband. So for the lotus feet of that Supreme Lord Vishnu, they will bless the devotee with firm devotion, steady devotion. So salutation to these Padukas. Svarcha Paranam Akhileshtadabhyam. All the wishes of the Akhila Ishtadabhyam, all the wishes of these devotees are provided by the Padukas. Swaha Sahayaksha Dhurandharabhyam. Swaha Sahayaksha is actually is not given in the translation. Lord Shiva. Aksha is the eyes. Who has the eyes of fire? Is Lord Shiva. So Swaha Sahayaksha Dhurandharabhyam. They will bless that person with again devotion to that Supreme Lord Shiva. Swantacha Bhava Prada Pujanabhyam. Inner purification they will provide. Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam. So Swantacha Bhava here is also translated as one's own true nature. The knowledge of one's own true nature also the Padukas will provide. Kamadi Sarpa Vraja Garudabhyam. The serpent Kama Krodha, the six vikaras, Kamadi Sarpa, they are like the serpents. Padukas are like the Garuda. So when Garuda comes, the serpents will go away. So these six vikaras will depart from the seeker's mind if the Padukas and devotion to the Guru is there. Viveka Vairagya Nidhi Pradabhyam. The treasure of Vivek and Vairagya will be provided. Bodha Pradabhyam. Knowledge also will be given. And Dhrita Mokshadabhyam. Instant liberation also. Fast. Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam. So we have concluded this in the right time. Next week we have the Guru Purnima also. On 16th we have the Guru Purnima and we are celebrating it on the eve. So on 15th Monday we are celebrating. All of you are welcome. Please come. We will express our gratitude to the whole Guru Parampara. Yes, 6:30 onwards. Some of you are going to present also. On Guru Stotram, the students are going to do a nice presentation and then they will have talk and Paduka Puja and Gurudev's clip, etc. So nice program. Okay, so we had seen lesson 8, where we saw the pointers of Atman, Sat, Chit and Anand. Now we go to lesson 9. This Sat, Chit and Anand, if you have any doubts at the end of today's class, you can ask, because that's important to understand. If you have gone through the material and if you have any doubts, we will have at the end of the class some time, ask the questions. So today we will see the 9th lesson is also about nature of Paramatman. So as we know, the supreme truth is absolute, it is infinite. Now that which is infinite cannot be defined. Why it cannot be defined? Because it does not have any finite parameters. That which has a name, form, qualities, attributes, you know, which is finite, that can be explained, defined. What is infinite? How can it be explained? But then how to know it? So pointers are used. Even Sat Chit Anand is a pointer. Each word is a pointer. What is the meaning of a pointer? Suppose we say that is a projector, and my finger is pointing to the projector. In the direction of the pointer, if I look, then what do I have to do? The direction where the pointer is pointing, in that direction I look. I can't keep seeing the finger. If I keep seeing the finger, can I see the projector? No. Finger is only pointing to a direction. In that direction I have to look, I have to drop the finger and see where the finger is pointing. Then I will see the projector. In that same way, one has to use the words given, Sat, Chit, Anand, and so many other pointers, Nirguna, Nirvikara, Avinashi, Aja, Amara, all these are pointers. What is the state which they are indicating? And then that word has to be also dropped. The meaning of the word also has to be dropped. And that state which it is indicating, the mind must contemplate on that state. Simple example for that is, suppose I call one of you. Suppose I say, Pankaj bhai, come here. What will Pankaj bhai do? He will come. Will he sit and think that somebody called Pankaj is called? No. Will he sit and think that Pankaj means that which is born in mud? So lotus is being called. Will he think? What will he think? He will drop the word Pankaj. He will drop the word meaning of Pankaj. And what will he think? I am being called. So he will come, right? In daily life also we do that. Words are only a medium of communication. They cannot define anything. Especially the infinite is not defined by the words. Infinite is only indicated. So the word has to be dropped. The meaning of the word has to be dropped. But what it is indicating, that has to be taken. So Gurudev gave this example of the pole vault. So this pole vault, the pole vaulter takes the pole and he runs. And he pitches that pole into the block hole. And then he goes up. And once that pole vaulter goes up, what does the pole vaulter do? Leave the pole. Then go across the bar. The pole is used only to reach up there. After that, drop. The timing of the pole dropping is important. If that person drops the pole before, will the person reach up? As many people say like that. Anyway, we have to drop the form. We'll drop it now only. Or some people say we won't pick up only. But then remain on the ground. Finally, we have to drop every support. But till I reach there, I need support. So these words are pointers to indicate that direction. Use the word. Suppose we say Sat is pure existence. Now, when that word Sat is used, we generally think of only objects, existence of objects. But what is that which is existence in spite of all the objects? That doesn't change form. Object will keep changing form. Now, when I have understood this much, in me, what is that which is constantly existing all the time? That is Sat. His body will change, thoughts will change, the emotions will change, ideas, ideals, everything will change. But each of them is existing. It is. And then I also experience it as Aham, I am. That Aham is Sat. Everything else is Asat. So using the pointer, I have to arrive at that state of pure Aham. So I drop all that which is changing. Existence doesn't change. That changeless existence awareness in me is that pure consciousness. So that is called coming to that state using the pointer. So there are three types of pointers of Atman. One is Swarup Lakshan, other is Tatastha Lakshan, third is Atadvyavritti Lakshan. Three. Why three are required? You can take any one also, it doesn't matter. Three are required because when we understand these three, then we have a complete understanding of why scripture uses different methodologies to indicate the self. Because for some it may not be easy to comprehend the pointer which is Swarup Lakshan. Sat Chit Anand may be difficult to comprehend. That is a Swarup Lakshan. So they may use the other two categories. In the same way, so for each one, according to their temperament, they may use whichever pointer they want. So now what are these three types of pointers? Swarup Lakshan means the intrinsic, inherent quality of that thing is used to define it. So if we say fire is hot, that is called Swarup Lakshan. Because the nature of that fire is heat. It is the intrinsic quality. Sugar is sweet. That is the intrinsic quality of that sugar. Water quenches thirst. That ability to quench the thirst is the intrinsic quality of water. In the same way, Sat, Chit, Anand is the intrinsic nature. See, one thing we should know here, I am using the word quality, but actually it is not quality, it is nature. Quality comes and goes. A thing can remain without its quality, but a thing cannot remain without its nature. So technically, it is the nature of that thing. Like there cannot be a cold fire. There cannot be water which will not quench the thirst. That is the nature of that water. Water will quench thirst. So the nature of the thing is used to define or indicate that thing. That is called Swarupa Lakshan. It is not from outside factor. It is an internal nature of it. In that way, Sat, Chit, Anand is the Swarup Lakshan of Atma. Existence, consciousness and bliss. Atma is, isness or Aham is the Swarup of Atma. Awareness of that is the Swarup of Atma. To be aware of the knowledge and whatever else is happening around is the nature of Atma. And Anand also is the nature of Atma, meaning Atma cannot be without these three. And Atma cannot be without these three means what? I cannot be without these three. Because the word Atma means I, Aham. Meaning I am immortal, I am Jnana Swarup, and I am Ananda Swarup. All three. Again, these are three only from our standpoint. Otherwise, they all are one only. Sat Chit Anand is one, they're not three. Don't say that, Swamiji, now I realize Sat, but Chit and Anand we have to realize. They are not three. It's one only. But the division of three is being done because we have this inherent desire, these three basic desires everybody has, which we saw now when we did earlier. What are those three? Desire to be immortal, desire to be knowledgeable, and desire to be happy. That is an inherent desire in everybody, and that is experienceable only through Atma. So, Sat Chit Anand. And also to understand the variety in the creation, that what is the difference between Jada and Chetan is this is having Satchidanand, but this does not have subtle body, so it cannot express Chaitanya and Anand. It expresses only existence. So to understand those factors, the variety, then these three are there, Sat, Chit and Anand. Otherwise they are actually one. The state of Atma is that only, one. So Swarup Lakshan means this. Sat, Chit, Anand is a Swarup Lakshan. Then comes Tatastha Lakshan. Tatastha Lakshan means using something else external factor which is temporary, we define a particular thing. So if somebody has to point out a building, they will say, that building, you see that crow is sitting on that building. Because there may be two buildings which are same white in color. So that building on which the crow is sitting on, that building you have to go there. Now crow is not going to sit there permanently. So it's a temporary indication. In the same way, we can indicate to somebody saying, that person who is in blue shirt, that person. That person is going to wear blue shirt every day. But using the temporary pointer which is external to that thing, we are pointing out that thing. So the shirt is external to that person. And that person may wear something else that day, but the person will remain the same. Shirt will change. So in that same way, when we say that this Atma is the illuminer of the body, mind and intellect, Sakshi of the body, mind, intellect, then using body, mind, intellect, we are indicating Atma. That is called Tatastha Lakshana. And body, mind, intellect are temporary or not? They are definitely temporary. As long as they are there, we are using that to indicate. Body, mind, intellect will not remain permanently. So when I use something external as well as something temporary to indicate the Atma, then that is called as Tatastha Lakshana. There are many, many Tatastha Lakshanas like that. Like when we say Atma is that which is the illuminer of the Pancha Kosha, then that is Tatastha Lakshana. Or it is that in which the thoughts rise, they stay and they fall. Then the thoughts are temporary, thoughts are not nature of Atma, so now that is the Tatastha Lakshana. Why Tatastha Lakshana is required? Because I am identified with that. With the world I am identified with. So using the known, we are pointing to that which is the illuminer of the known. Body, mind, intellect is known to us, but Atma is not known to us. So then we make people, the Shastra makes the student understand what is that which is enlivening this BMI. That is the Atma. That is in Gujarati. This is in Sanskrit, no? Yeah, the etymology will change. Like Upadhi in Gujarati means a trouble. Are kya motti upadhi aa gayi. But Upadhi in Sanskrit means equipment, which conditions. So we have to take the meaning in that language only. See, that is a very important aspect. Like this very famous verse, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Word adhikara in Hindi, Gujarati can mean right. So what people translate? You have only right to act, you have no right to result. Why will I act otherwise if I have no right to result? But the word adhikara there does not mean right. The word adhikara there means qualification. That we are qualified only to do karma. We have no control on the result. We have no qualification to control the result. So we have to take the meaning in that language only. So tatastha literally means that. Tate sthitva. You stand on the banks and then you indicate. You are not directly indicating. You are indicating using something else. So now, when so we were saying this Atma is used, it is indicated using what is known. So body, mind, intellect is known. Or the world is known. Panchakosha is known. 3 states of awareness is known. Using the known, what is that which is behind the known, which is illumining it, that is indicated. So now in this, there are 2 main things given in the course material. Atma is the enlivener of inert upadhis And Atma is the Sakshi of three states. Avasthatraya Sakshi, and enlivener of the inert upadhis. The upadhis are body, mind, intellect. So what is the meaning of upadhi? See, the upadhi means that which limits. A limiting adjunct is called upadhi. So what limits? Example, in this case, Atma is unlimited, but the body, mind, intellect make it appear as though it is limited. So the simpler example for that given is the space is unlimited. But if a pot is there in space, now that shape of the pot as though limits the space. So then we have divided that space into pot space inside and the room space outside. But actually this pot space and this room space both are limiting the actual space. Why? Because of the boundary. As long as the boundary exists, it appears to be limiting. Actually, it is not, it cannot limit the space. But the limitation is apparent, not real. If we break the pot, what happens? Space again is there same. We may say pot space merged into the room space, but it was never separate. If you move the pot from here to here, does the space also move? No. Space is same. Everywhere it is. Pot is actually inside the space. Space is not inside the pot. But we think like that, pot space. In the same way, if you think. So the whole pot is inside the space and the pot appears to be limiting the space. In the same way, our body, mind, intellect is actually in the Atma, but it appears as though Atma is inside this body, mind, intellect. One. And it appears as though this infinite Atma has become conditioned by this one pot, which is one BMI. And then people say also, this Atma is different and that Atma is different. Atma in everybody is different. If Atma in everybody is different, then it is finite, it will perish. How can Atma be different in everybody? The very, by definition, Atma is infinite, it is one only. How can it be different in everybody? It is one supreme Atma, bas. That's why we say Madatma, Sarva Bhutatma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The self in me is the self in all. So a person who has understood that factor has awakened. So using this limiting adjunct, we say this body, mind, intellect is inert. How is this inert thing functioning? There has to be one enlivening factor, a sentient factor. Like the bulb by itself cannot give light. There has to be electricity which empowers it. Then only the bulb can give light. Same way, what is that which enlivens this BMI? It is the Atma. What makes the body function, the senses perceive, the mind feel, the intellect think. And even when these three are not there in the deep sleep state, I feel I am. So that means the body, mind, intellect don't exist, but Atma still exists. What is that Atma? That is my true nature. Body, mind, intellect, which I am thinking of myself as this, I am right now this. This doesn't even exist in the deep sleep state. But I still am. So that nature of mine is existence, astitva, consciousness as Chaitanya, and being infinite, it is Anand also. So using the pointer that Atma is the enlivener of the inert, one starts thinking, okay, what is that which is enlivening? Enlivening means what? Which lends sentiency, the spark of life to anything. That is called as enlivener. Yeah. Literal word meaning of upadhi is a limiting adjunct. Yes. It can be anything. On infinite, everything is by the way a limitation. Whatever is, even the whole entire universe is a limitation on the infinite. The whole creation is a limitation on the infinite. Why? Because infinite is infinite. Creation is one small part. In Purusha Suktam we say, no? Pado asya Bhutani Tripadasyamritam Divi. This whole creation is only like 1/4. 3/4 is unmanifest. So that's a mystic language to say that the entire creation also is like the entire dream world is such a small part of the waker. No? One part of the waker's mind in the brain, somewhere one little thing is happening, and that is the dream. No? The waker is much more than that. The waker is not limited by it or bound by it at all, actually speaking. He is free. But while the dream is on, it appears that it is so real, and waker has forgotten oneself. So any limiting agent, from infinite standpoint, everything which is finite is a limiting agent. As many pots as you bring, millions of pots will be there. Each of them will appear to have limited the space. So if there are million pots, there are million pot spaces. But all those million pot spaces cannot actually divide space. Space is infinite, there's so much. Million pots also, even if they appear to divide, nothing happens to actually the space. In the same way, all of us are as though limiting the Atma. But that's why we have to remember this limitation is apparent, it is not real at all. So each one is like a pot, and the millions and billions of jivas, countless number of jivas, but still none of them can affect the Atma because the upadhi is only an apparent upadhi. So it will not really limit. It's like magic. You may see that person is being cut, but actually nobody is being cut. It just appears like that. So it's like that. So upadhi. So using this aspect that Atma is the enlivener of the upadhi. How Atma enliven the upadhi? By being, in its proximity. When this BMI are there in its proximity, then the Atma appears to enliven it. Like you bring the bulb close to that, holder, that socket, and then you put it inside, then the electricity will flow. So upadhi means that. So when Atma is near this BMI, now again I'm using the word near, don't think, okay, so Atma is some finite thing, it is somewhere near, so usko dur le jao, to phir upadhi mar jayegi. In the presence. So the example given there is like the sun. The sun rises and all activities start. The sun doesn't do anything. Sun is akarta only. Same way Atma is akarta. Atma doesn't do anything. It's not that Atma is now, okay, upadhi aa gaya, chalo, now and live in. Upadhi chala gaya, now withdraw. Atma doesn't do anything. Electricity doesn't do anything. It is there. If you bring a bulb, it will bring out the light. If you put a tape recorder, it will bring out music. Does electricity do anything? Nothing. In its presence, these equipments will function and do their own respective jobs. Same way, Atma in us is the akarta. See, remember, this is a very important point, because if Atma becomes karta and bhokta, then Atma becomes vikari, Atma will become destructible. Atma is akarta at all times. Like the screen. Does the screen do anything? The screen is just the screen. Now you project whatever you want to project on that. Screen doesn't do anything. It is the background, it's a substratum, it is there. In the same way, Atma is the substratum, it exists. And in its presence, everything starts functioning according to the caliber of that equipment. This does not have the subtle body, so this will not respond. This has the subtle body, so this will respond. The moment the subtle body goes away from this, this also will stop responding. Atma remains same in both. But the equipment will respond or do its job according to its own properties or qualities. Atma doesn't make anyone do anything. So the akartritva of Atma should be very clear. That Atma doesn't do anything, Atma doesn't enjoy anything. It only in its mere presence enlivens. And we are saying it enlivens all only because we are seeing that That is a method for us to understand the Atma. Because right now our attention is on the equipment. So through that we are trying to indicate the attention to go away from the equipment to the enlivener of the equipment. That's all. When we come to the enlivener of the equipment also doesn't exist. Like when we are in the dream state, then we say, there is a waker. That waker is the illuminer of all this. So using the dream character, the attention has to be shifted from the dream character to the waker. When that attention shifts actually to the waker and the person wakes up, then what happens? Whole dream world gone. This whole upadhi, everything will disappear. That's the state of absorption. That realization is that where a person experiences absolute oneness with the truth, there is no duality at all. So Atma is Akarta. We should never say that Atma is Karta till I am in bondage. When I become free, then Atma is Akarta. How that is possible? It is like saying, till I see the snake, rope has actually created the snake. When I don't see the snake, now rope has stopped creating the snake. A rope never created the snake. From the beginning, it never created the snake. There are some philosophies who will tell like this. Atma is Karta. As long as body, mind, intellect is there, Atma is Karta. When you realize, then Atma is Akarta. How Atma changes? From Karta to Akarta, Akarta to Karta. Then it is not Atma anymore. It goes on changing. It is Vikari, it will destroy. So, this is the point. So, using this Jada Upadhi, body, mind, intellect is Jada Vastu. Now, you see the tragedy. That which is inert, which is borrowing its very existence from that which is Chaitanya. Today, it has made the Chaitanya as though appear its own slave. It has made the Chaitanya, it has made us forget the Chaitanya. My nature is Chaitanya. I have forgotten that. Now I identified with the body, mind, intellect. And now that happiness of that body, mind, intellect is now my happiness. Atma, what is the nature of that, to be forgotten. Hence it is that this Shatka Sampatti, this Sadhan Chatushtaya, all that which we learned is to tune up this equipment so that we can get out of this false notion, this enslavement of the BMI. One has to get out of that. To then realize that, I am that Atma on me, in me, all these equipments are functioning. I am not dependent on them. They are dependent on me. Electricity is always free. The bulb depends on the electricity. Electricity doesn't depend on the bulb. But today we have forgotten that part. So using the equipment, that which is the illuminer of the equipment is pointed out. That is called Tatastha Lakshan. Like the example given is the crow on that building. So that building on which the crow is there, that is the building you have to go. In the same way, that which is the illuminer of the Atma, of the BMI, that is the Atma. The second example given here is Atma is the Sakshi of the three states of awareness. Now these three states of awareness, what happens? Okay, before we go into that three states of awareness, this one shloka from this Vakya Vritti, we can chant. Ajadatma vadabhanti yatsan nidhya jadadapi dehendriya mana pranaha soham ityavadharaya. Jada api, deha indriya mana pranaha, jada api, sorry, they have written jada api. These are by themselves inert, which deha indriya mana prana, body, senses, mind, pranas. They by themselves are jada, but still they appear ajadatmavad abhanti. They appear as though they are sentient. Why? Yat sanidhyat, by in whose presence these which are jada, they appear also as Chaitanya, that Soham iti avadharaya. The Vakyavritti shloka says, the seeker must say that I am that. Once the seeker has to understand oneself, the true nature of oneself as that in whose presence even that which is the inert will appear as sentient. That pure consciousness, existence, bliss, that is my true nature. So that's the verse from this Atma Bodh. Now, what is Jada and what is Chetan? The difference we should know. Why this BMI is called Jada? BMI is called Jada because they have come from 5 elements which are Jada. What is the difference between Jada and Chaitanya? In Vedanta we say that which is Chaitanya knows itself and knows others around it without any medium. Swayam bhati anyan bhasayati sadhanam vina. That's the definition of Chaitanya. That which knows itself and knows what is around without any medium. That is called Chaitanya. And that which is Jada doesn't know itself, doesn't know anything around. Now this bottle, why is it called Jada? It doesn't know what it is, that it is a bottle. Nor does it know anything that is happening around. No, Swamiji, but we know, no. His body knows. Body by itself doesn't know anything. If the body by itself knew, then the dead body would be knowledgeable. No, but dead body doesn't have subtle body. That is why it doesn't know. A subtle body also by itself doesn't know anything. Because it's only made up of 5 subtle elements. Anything that is made up of 5 elements by itself is Jada Vastu only. Because the raw material itself is Jada Vastu. The entire creation is made up of these 5 elements is Jada only. It is inert. But then from where do we see sentiency everywhere? That is the presence of the Atma. So mind, intellect also is Jada Vastu. Body also is Jada Vastu. Prana also is Jada Vastu. In our scriptures it is said if Prana had consciousness by itself, no theft can ever happen. When you are sleeping, somebody comes into your house, steals something and goes. Why? Because you are sleeping. But prana is going on, no? Now if prana was Chaitanya by itself, the prana would know, Are koi aa gaya. So theft will not happen only. Prana doesn't know anything. Prana is just prana. It is inert energy. And that's why there's a big difference between what science says and what Vedanta says. Vedanta says the source of this creation is consciousness. It is not inert matter. Traditional physics will say, no, energy and matter. And matter is gross matter. Energy is subtler form of matter. But both are Jada only. That is not consciousness. And here people say, God, what is God? God is energy. God is not energy, Baba. Energy transforms, potential energy, kinetic energy. Energy is Jada Vastu, it is inert. God is power, God is energy. And people go on thinking. And they repeat also like parrot. What is God? God is power. Kaun sa power? If you say enlivening power, still understandable. But if you say God is energy, everything is energy. That is correct. In the whole creation, everything is energy. But that is what we call as Prakriti. And it is Jada Vastu. But God is not that. God is the Purusha which enlivens his energy also. That is consciousness. So today quantum physics will come to that. Quantum physics will say that consciousness is the basis, not the matter. But traditional physics still holds on, no matter only. So that's the big difference between science and spirituality. So here when we say that these upadhis are Jada, because they don't know anything by themselves. Gurudev used to joke, if the eyes themselves could see by themselves, then we will keep always one eye in the office to keep an eye on the husband. what the fellow is doing there, because eye can see by itself. But that is not possible. Jada vastu it is. So that's the definition given here. So Shankaracharya ji, when he wrote this book Vakyavritti, this is taken from that Vakyavritti. Now, another example given here is, what is that which makes these inert conditionings know and act? The presence of that is the example we gave. No? So the example we gave was of the sun, that how the sun in its presence makes everything dynamic and alive. And the sun has no sense of doership or agency. In its presence, everything happens. Another example given in the material is of iron fillings and the magnet. Magnet has the power of attraction and repulsion. And this iron by itself doesn't have, but in the presence of that, this iron also will start getting that. And if that magnet is associated with the iron for a long time, that iron also will get little bit of the magnetic property. And very interesting it is. Magnet is what actually? Is iron only. So if you take that magnet and keep on putting that magnet, throwing down again and again and again, after some time that magnet will become ordinary iron. It will lose all the magnetic property, gone. That is a different extra point I told you. That has nothing to do with Atma. Okay. Don't say Atma ko pakad ke niche dal diya to wo body ho jayega. That is just a nice point I remember, so I told you. Don't connect it suddenly. Why I remember that is because Gurudev used to say that, be like that. The Gurudev gave this example for equanimity. See, the magnet piece has attraction on one side and repulsion on one side, no? So he used to say that because of that, it will go through. The iron pieces will get stuck or they will get repelled. So that keeps happening. So in our life, pairs of opposites, we keep going up and down, up and down. So he says, when life brings you massive blows, no? It is like the magnet. Go on putting the magnet down, it will lose all attraction and repulsion power. So the challenges that come to us in life, if we use it in that sense, then we lose our raga and dvesha and we will become equanimous, sama. So that is extra point, nothing to do with today's lesson. Okay. So the example given in today's lesson is just like in the presence of the magnet, that iron pieces also get some power of attraction. That power doesn't belong to the iron pieces, it belongs to the magnet. In that same way, as though in the presence of this Atma is Chaitanya Swarup and the BMI is Jada. But in the presence of that Atma, this Jada also appears Chaitanya. And if you remember, we have done this earlier. The Chaitanya which is unlimited appears as limited. This is called mutual superimposition, like the fire and the iron ball. That fire is not at all round, but that iron ball is round, but fire gets the shape. And that iron ball is cold, but the iron ball now becomes hot. That is called mutual superimposition. In the same way here it is. In the presence of the Atma, the Jada appears as Chaitanya, and that which is Ananta appears as Santa. It is finite. It has not actually become like that. It is only appearance. Mutually, it has as though acquired the qualities temporarily. But using that analogy, our point is to understand, oh, this is the nature of Atma. This is pure consciousness. Using that which is Jada, we are trying to understand Chaitanya. This is called Jada Chetan Vivek. Atma Anatma Vivek. Because today these two have got mixed up. No? Before we came to Vedanta, we thought in no only there are two. We thought the body is working on autopilot. Apne aap chal raha hai. And who is running it? Nature. Nature is running it. But there is one enlivening factor which is separate, and that is my nature. No idea. It doesn't even strike that the thoughts by themselves cannot exist in the mind. The thought is nothing but an object illumined by consciousness. Same way all the perception that we have is illumined by Chaitanya Swarupatma. So Atma doesn't go through any changes. Mind and intellect and the body, they go through all the changes. So that when we understand, then we know, okay, this is the Tatastha Lakshan. That what is the Atma? Atma is the enlivener of the inert body, mind, intellect. The second pointer is Atma is the Sakshi of the three states. So now Atma is the Sakshi of the three states. What is the meaning of that? These three states, they come and they go. And we have understood the Atma identified with each state assumes an identity. Atma identified with waking state. What is the identity? Waker. What is the name of the waker? Vishwa. Dream, Tejas. Prajna is for deep sleep. Who is the Vishwa Tejas Prajna? Atma only identified with these three is the Vishwa Tejas Prajna. So Atma is one and the same, but the nature of this Vishwa Tejas Prajna changes. And what is that which remains even beyond Vishwa Tejas and Prajna is the Atma. So it is Sakshi. It doesn't change. Vishwa Tejas Prajna will change. Body, mind, intellect will come and go in these three states. But Atma will never change. So using the body, mind, intellect, which is temporary, which is changing, and the three states which are changing, from waking to dream, dream to deep sleep to waking, waking to dream, we keep moving in these three. So using that which is changing, which is temporary, that which is permanent is pointed out. And what is that which is permanent in all the three is the Atma. It's same, one truth. So now this word Sakshi, when we say, see this verse 22 of Vakyavritti on page 7. Swapna jagarite suktim bhava bhavaudhiyam tatha yo vetya vikriya sakshat soham ityavadharaya. Swapna jagarite suktim bhava abhava dhyam tatha. So in the waking, dream, deep sleep, and in the presence and the absence of the buddhi, like in the deep sleep buddhi is not there, dream buddhi is not there, in the waking it is there. Ye yo veti, because of whom one knows the presence and the absence, and by itself which is avikriya, which is changeless, and which is sakshat, which sees directly without any medium. Soham ityavadhare, that is to be known as my own true self. So that's the meaning of that shloka, that Atma enlivens the three states, and it is that because of which we know the presence and the absence. See, generally we always understand that I know something only because of my buddhi. But this buddhi is not there in deep sleep state. Still I know. That means there's some other factor now from where buddhi is also deriving its capability to know, and that I can know even in the absence of the buddhi. No doubt buddhi is a means to understand certain things. But buddhi alone is not required for knowledge. Knowledge is my true nature. Jnana is my swarupa. And that's why this, when we say Atma is the Sakshi of three states, it's like saying that that building is the building on which the crow is sitting. Crow will go. Same way three states come, they go. Atma is that which is constant. So now Atma is the Sakshi. What are the qualities of Atma as Sakshi? Three main aspects are given here. What is the meaning of Sakshi? Sakshat ikshate iti Sakshi. One who sees directly without any interference of any medium, who is uninvolved, unaffected observer and a direct observer, not through any medium. That is called Sakshi. See that? Immediate, non-instrumentated knowledge. What does that mean? To see, to gain the knowledge of anything, I require a medium. For example, if I want to see the bottle, what is the means for me to see the bottle? Eyes. Can I see the bottle through ears? No. So the valid means to know the bottle is the eye. If I want to hear this talk, what is the valid means? Ears. Ears and the capability to hear must be there. So that's the valid means. So for physical world to perceive the physical world, I need the physical body, the senses. To experience emotions, what do I need? Mind. In deep sleep, the mind is not there, so emotion is not experienced. Many times when we see some incident or when we hear something, but our mind is not actively involved in it, we don't feel. Every day we sip the tea and we read. Obituary column also sometimes we see somebody died. In our mind, there is no identification with that person. So no emotion, nothing. So emotion requires this mind. Mind has to be there. Then only I experience that emotion. If it is not there, if the involvement is not there, no emotion. For intellect, for thoughts, I need the buddhi. But to know I am, do I need any of this mind, intellect and body? It appears to us that we need, but actually we don't need at all. To know aham, I don't need the body, mind, intellect. Like the simple example for that given is, suppose you walk into the dark room, absolute pitch dark, nothing you can see inside that room. Now, if you want to see something in that room, what will you do? You need a torch. And with the torch, you will see, okay, this is a table, this is a chair, this is some, water bottle, whatever. But to know you are, do you have to put a torch and see कि मैं हूँ कि नहीं देख लेते हैं चलो? Not required at all. That is called immediate knowledge. No medium of knowledge, no medium is required to gain that knowledge of my existence, aham. So the nature of Atma is that pure consciousness and illumination. It doesn't require any medium. And that's the nature of Sakshi. Sakshat tikshate sadhanam vina. Without any sadhan. So that's why even the definition of Chaitanya, what we said is that, no? Swayam bhati anyan bhasayati sadhanam vina. That which illumines oneself and others without any medium. Atma doesn't use any other medium to enliven body, mind, intellect. In the presence of Atma, BMI is enlivened. Okay. So that is the first point, that Sakshi is a immediate knowledge. So when we say I am the Sakshi or Atma is the Sakshi, through body, mind, intellect, as long as I think I am the body, mind, intellect, I cannot realize the Atma. So to detach from the body, mind, intellect, we say Atma is the Sakshi of the body, mind, intellect, which means Sakshi does not require body, mind, intellect. Sakshi is independent. Sakshi will remain at all times. Because the Atma is witnessing. Now the mind came, now the mind became quiet, now the mind became absent. Witness of all the three. In the waking state, mind is active. In the dream state, the mind has changed the identity. In deep sleep state, the mind has become absent. Who is aware of both presence and absence and all the changes of the mind? That is the Atma. That is the consciousness. So that is the first point. It is immediate, non-instrumentated knowledge. Second, Atma as a Sakshi is that which does not go through any modification. Knowledge without modification. What is the meaning of that? So when we say this is a bottle, the knowledge of this bottle I got from perception, through the eyes. Where did this knowledge arise? In my mind. How did the knowledge arise in the mind? Through the thought that this is a bottle. So the mind went through a change. Earlier it had the thought of, let us say, the mic. Now it has the thought of bottle. But how did I recognize that this is a bottle? For that I have to exist. No, I am. And then I know this is a mic, this is a bottle. So the knowledge of this mic, the knowledge of this bottle changes the mind because the thoughts change. But I am, does it change? That doesn't change at all. No matter how much knowledge I may get of how many other objects I may get, the aham doesn't go through any change. The sakshi which is there doesn't go through any change. Like how many other slides or videos I project on this screen, does the screen go through any change? Nothing. It will remain as it is, unmodified. So that nature of mind, because in the world, whatever knowledge I get, the mind will go through modification. Knowledge of good thoughts will make the mind good. Good values makes the mind good. Bad values makes the mind bad. But Atma is the Sakshi of both good and bad. So what is the meaning of that? I am untouched by any type of thought. Does that mean I can entertain any thought? Anyway, I'm untouched by any thought. But who is that I? That I is Atma, not mind. Right now my identification is with the mind. So I need to ensure that the mind has good thoughts only, because in good thoughts the mind has sattva guna, and that sattva guna helps me to detach from the mind and realize the Atma. These negative values and thoughts make me rajasic and tamasic. I cannot detach from mind at that state. I can detach only from sattvic state. So I need to have good thoughts. But this is to understand that Atma remains untouched, modification-less. It is the witness of all modifications. All vikaras are in the mind only. It is not in the Atma. And then the third quality is that, so this is knowledge without modification. Third quality is after effects of the knowledge. What is the after effect of the knowledge? Every thought we think leaves an impression on the mind. Right? Like the thought of this bottle. Now this bottle, the shape of the bottle, the color of the bottle, and then how I want to use the bottle. If somebody has given this bottle to me, now I have emotional attachment to that bottle. All that, when I see the bottle, it will create a impact on the mind. And the mind will modify according to that. But Atma doesn't get modified at all. Nothing happens to it. So no impression is left on the Atma. So the causal body is the impressions, vasanas. And these vasanas will further create new thoughts. So when I see something, when I perceive, when I think something, I am also sowing the seeds for new perceptions and new thoughts. But Atma doesn't remain affected by any of this. It remains untouched. And hence it is, Gurudev has given here the example of mirror. Atma is like the mirror. Mirror will reflect so many things that are coming in front of the mirror, but will the mirror get affected by anything? If a very fair person comes in front of the mirror, will the mirror become fair? Lucky. Otherwise, mirror doesn't remain mirror. Whatever comes in front of it, the mirror will assume that quality then. So, very nice line. Actually, this, what is given here, no, is what Gurudev said. And the definition of a Jivan Mukta is this actually. Gurudev used to give the example of the mirror, and he said the Jivan Mukta is like a mirror who accepts everything, rejects nothing, reflects everything and keeps nothing. A Jivan Mukta is like that. Accepts everything, rejects nothing, and reflects everything, but keeps nothing. So whatever comes in front, you can see in the mirror, but mirror doesn't possess anything. It is free. In the same way, Atma enlivens. Otherwise, a lot of problem will happen. You just think. If the screen starts retaining the impact of the scenes, then you can't see movies. 4 shows in a day, 5 shows in a day. You can't do. Why? Ab screen ko dhona padega. because screen has become dirty. It doesn't retain anything. What does this mean? Atma sees without any medium. Meaning I am the Atma, on me the BMI depend, I don't depend on the BMI. The Upanishad say very beautifully, Pashyami achakshuhu sa shrunomi akarnaha. Atma is that which sees without eyes, hears without ears. Now one starts imagining, oh, what a being it is. Weird, sees without eyes, hears without ears. It means that it doesn't depend on eyes and ears for anything. All knowledge comes to these eyes and ears because of Atma. Atma doesn't depend on any of them. Atma is Jnana Swarup. By its very presence, it knows. Second implication is what? Knowledge without modification. Atma is that which doesn't modify. So anything that changes is not me. There's a practical application in sadhana. First one is I don't depend on the BMI. BMI depends on me. Second implication is whatever is changing is not me. I am the illuminer of change. And third implication is that I remain untouched. Impressions are created on the mind, not on me, the Atma. So I can be like the mirror, reflect everything, reject nothing, accept everything, reject nothing, reflect everything and keep nothing. My nature is like that mirror. So I don't get affected by anything. As an Atma, I am unaffected. But at the mind level, yes, the mind gets affected, so one has to be alert. Keep the right company. Don't say I am to anyway unaffected, doesn't matter. Anybody is there around me, anything they do, whatever happens, nothing matters. No. Mind does get affected. My identification is still with the mind. So now using this, Atma is the Sakshi. Now one has tried to understand the nature of Atma as pure consciousness. So two types of Lakshanas we saw. Swarup Lakshana is Sat, Chit, Anand, where something intrinsic is used to explain and indicate what is the Atma. Then we saw Tatastha Lakshana. Using something external and temporary, what is that which is permanent is indicated in a positive language. Like Atma is Sakshi of the BMI. Atma is the enlivener of the enlivener of BMI and Sakshi of the three states. Now the third type of Lakshan is Atad Vyavritti Lakshan. Atad, what does that mean? Atad means not that. Tad means that. Atad means not that. Vyavritti. Vyavritti means to negate. And Lakshana means a definition. Using negating pointers. That Atma is not this, not this, not this, not this, not this. What remains after you negate all this, that is the Atma. Eliminate all. It is not all this. Why this elimination technique is used? Because that is the only way to describe. Gurudev used to give this example. In those earlier days, that photographs and all were not so easily available. The phone, mobile and all was not there. No, so you go to the party and you have been told that you have to give this message, this envelope, to one Mr. Rama Rao. And who is this Rama Rao? Mr. Rama Rao is from Andhra Pradesh and he is bald and he will be wearing white suit. So now you go to that party. First you identify people and you reject. All the people who have hair you reject. Not this, not this, not this, not this. Then you identify three people. Three people who are bald who are there. Now in that white suit, two people are wearing. So now you have rejected one person. He is not wearing white suit, so he is not Rama Rao. Now one person is an Andhra Pradesh person and one person is from, let us say, UP. Then you say not UP fellow. Who is this? Who remains? Is Rama Rao. So not hairy person not colored suit person, and not any other state person. Who remains? That is Ramaram. Then you go and give the envelope to that person. So in that way, whatever is the finite entity, if you negate everything that is finite, what will remain is infinite. So what is the pointer used for that? All these type of pointers, no? See this Atmabodh verse, very beautiful verse. Nirguno nishkriyo nityo nirvikalpo niranjanaha nirvikaro nirakaro nityamuktosmi nirmalaha. So here we go step by step. In the verse it is given in this particular meter. We will go step by step. First we say Nirakaro. Nirakaro is in the second line. Nirakara means one who has no form. Body has a form. Physical body has a form. Tangible object, these things have a form. So we say Nirakaro, meaning that which is not the gross body. And Nirvikara. Body goes through 6 modifications. What are the 6 modifications? Asti, Jayate, Vardhate, Viparinamate, Apakshiyate, Pranashyate, Vinashyate. 6. So this form, Nirvikaro and Nirakaro, these two negate the gross body and all the gross forms gone. So all the gross forms one shot negated. Negated means what? This has to be applied in the mind. Anything that is gross, anything which has a form, remove. That is not the Atma. Externally, don't negate anybody. We don't have to go and destroy. Not this, not this, not this. No. Internally, in meditation, our identification is with that, no, which is having form. That we have to remove. So any thought that comes up in the mind about any object, we say no, out. This is not the Atma. So Nirvikaro, Nirakaro. Because Atma has no form, Atma has no modifications. Body has all these. Then we say Nishkriyaha. Atma is without any actions also. So you negate the senses. 5 karmendriyas and 5 pranas, that also negated. Atma is not that. Nirvikalpa. Atma is without any thought modifications. So the mind and the intellect, they have all these thoughts, feelings, all the vikaras. So kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, all these vikaras, they are in the mind. So Atma is beyond thoughts, beyond feelings, beyond sensory perception, beyond gross object, beyond body also. So gross body and subtle body negate. Ab kya bacha? Causal body. So it is a nirguna. Atma is beyond the 3 gunas. Atma is the very cause of this Maya. From Maya comes 3 gunas. From 3 gunas come the whole samsara. So Atma is beyond 3 gunas. Atma is Niranjana, without any taint. So here Niranjana, Anjana means a taint. Taint is the vasanas, the impressions, both positive and negative, not just the bad vasanas. Any vasana is a taint because it limits. So Niranjana and Nirmala, free from the impurities of ignorance. So causal body also is negated. So now what has to be done? In the seat of contemplation, gross body negated, subtle body negated, causal body negated. Who remains? Pure I only remains. The negator, not the jiva is negator. The jiva also is negated, gone. Who remains? That is Atma. So this is called the technique of neti. Eliminate. Not this, not this. Negate the gross, negate the subtle, negate the causal. This has to be done in contemplation. Contemplation is not becoming thoughtless. Most of the people think like that. What do I want to do? I become thoughtless. For that I have to give you one slap. That is enough. You will become thoughtless immediately. Instantly, suddenly you will become thoughtless. What? One shot you give. थॉटलेस हो गया, उसके लिए इतना मेहनत करोगे मेडिटेशन. We don't have to become thoughtless. We have to do this negation. I am not this, I'm not this, I'm not this. Because the false identification is with the body, mind, intellect, and the causal body. Not this, not this, not this, not this. How do we do all that? When we sit in contemplation, any thought that comes, negate. Negate means don't cooperate only. Non-cooperation movement. Launch against the body, mind, intellect. We are sitting quietly and then contemplating. Then I think it's very cold. Negate. I am not the body. Cold is for the body. I am not the Atma. I am not the body. Gone. I think बहुत भूख लग रही है. That is for the prana. I am not this. Any thought disturbance comes, negate. Just negate. Keep on negating. You will be surprised. After some time, nothing will come. You say, Swamiji, blank. Negate blank also. Because blank also is a thought. Just absence. That's all. You say, I am. Bas. What remains now is only I am. Not this I am as Mr. So and so. When you negate everything, what remains is, that's it. That is the silence. One cannot explain that state. So that is what has to be done in contemplation. Now this is explained here logically so that we have the conviction to do that in contemplation. If we don't have the conviction, how I am not the body? I am sitting to contemplate, I am not the body. And the mind says, you are the body only. What simply you are saying, you are not the body. Then I don't have conviction only. How I am not the mind, how I am not the vasanas, how I am not the ignorance. I have to negate all of that. If I have the clarity, for that clarity this is given. Understanding of the philosophy properly if I have, then in contemplation I will sit and negate. Any thought that rises, I will negate, including form of Bhagwan. See, Nirvikara was said, no, Nirakara it was said, Atma is Nirakara. So Bhagwan's form also one negates. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa destroyed the form of Kali. In his mind, he destroyed that form. Then he went into Nirgun Nirakara. One's own form, identification with that form goes away by identifying with Bhagwan's form. That's the path of devotion. That Bhagwan alone is, I am not there, I am not there. Then Bhagwan becomes so real. And you become so small, as a, I am nobody. And then finally that form also one transcends. That absolute state then one experiences. So that's what it is. Now this is called Atad Vyavritti Lakshan, negate. The definition that we learned earlier of Atma. Do you remember the definition of Atma? We learned now in the beginning. We didn't learn? I forgot now because I've taken so many classes on so many books. Atma's definition you didn't learn? Of course you learned. It is there now in the beginning. I'll tell you where it is. See this. After the 7 questions. No? So straight away it comes into this. Sthula Sukshma Karana. You didn't learn. Oh, okay. The definition of Atma is this. Now learn. Memorize. This definition you have to memorize, which is on page 12. This is given in Tattva Bodh. This definition of Atma, next week you will have a question. Question meaning, I will ask anybody, tell me the definition of Atma. Because this is defining, this is me. Now again remember, definition means what? Indications. Who am I? There is an answer to that actually. Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirad Vyatiriktaha Panchakoshati Tassan Avasthatraya Sakshi Satchidananda Swarupassan Yastishtati Sa Atma. This you memorize. In the middle of the night, if we wake you up and ask you, who are you? Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirad Vyatiriktaha Avasthatraya Sakshi Panchakoshati Tassan Satchidananda Swarupa Yastishtati Sa Atma. Go back to sleep. Memorize it, because this is full spiritual life is to realize this one sentence. Who is this Atma? Till now what we learned also is to negate all this only. So sthula, sukshma, karana, sharira, vyatirikta. It is other than gross body, subtle body, causal body. Then panchakoshatita sun. Beyond the 5 sheets. These two, what type of lakshan are these? Swarup lakshan, or don't say second one. Second one matlab kya? Swarup lakshan, tatastha lakshan, and atad vyavritti lakshan. Arey, learn all this, Baba. Don't say third one hai ye, first one hai ye, second one hai ye. If you teach like that to the next generation, first type of definition of Atma, they will not know what is first, what is second, what is third. First is Swarup Lakshan. Second is Tatastha Lakshan. Third is Atad Vyavritti Lakshan. So now if we say Atma is Panchakoshatita sun and Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira Vyatirakta, what type of a definition it is? Indicator is, it is not Atad. Is it negation? Then तो स्वरूप ही होगा पक्का. अरे, what is it? Is it Atad Vyavritti or is it Tatastha? Tell me. How many say it is Atad Vyavritti Lakshan? Don't see the book now. You think about how much you learned now. Now you don't see the book and say, "Arey, ye to aisa hai." You understood 3 types of pointers. Now this is the test for that. First type of pointer, you said it is the natural, it is the inherent definition, inherent nature of that thing. Okay. That is Satchidananda Swarupaha here. Okay. Then we said it is Tatastha Lakshan. Tatastha Lakshan is using something temporary and external, it is pointed out. So, 2 examples we gave for that. One is Atma is the Sakshi. Atma is the enlivener of the inert BMI. In this Avasthatraya Sakshi, that is this Tatastha Lakshan. Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira Vyatirikta. Avastha and Panchakoshatita sun. That is what? Atad Vyavritti Lakshan. Don't say it is the second one. Why it is? Because this is negating, no? These first 2 aspects are negating. It is not Sthul, not Sukshma, not Karan. Negate. And not 5 koshas. Negate. If it was said Pancha Kosha Sakshi, then what it will be? Then it will be Tatastha. It is said Pancha Kosha Atita. You are negating it. It is not the 5 koshas, it is other than the 5 koshas. Beyond. So, now what is the difference between this second and the third one? Atad Vyavritti and Tatastha, what is the difference? Because otherwise we get confused. Like we said in the first 2, this is Tatastha. That is not Tatastha. First 2 are Atad Vyavritti. See, in the first one, in the Tatastha Lakshana, there is clear distinction made. Both will be there. Atma as well as the equipment, and using equipment Atma will be indicated. So Avasthatraya Sakshi. Sakshi word indicates Atma. Avasthatraya indicates this Jada Vastu. This Avasthatraya and Atma. So using Avasthatraya, Atma indicated. Or if we say Atma is enlivener of BMI, Atma also there, BMI also there. By using the Jada BMI, Atma is indicated. But in this Atad Vyavritti, only negation will be there of the finite. Then what remains is inferred as Atma. So when we say Nirvikara, Nirvikara is Atma. How is Atma called Nirvikar? All which is Vikari is negated. Then what remains? That is called Nirvikar. That is Atma. Directly Atma's existence is not pointed out in that sense. The word is pointer of Atma only, there is no doubt. But what is it negating? Everything which is finite is a Vikari is negated, gone. Then what remains is the Atma. So in the other one, there is through something else, Atma is pointed out. In this, whatever is not the Atma is all negated. Then what will remain as a by balance, that is the Atma. So when 5 koshas you negate, what remains? That is the Atma. 3 states you negate, what remains? That is the Atma. So if you say Avasthatraya Sakshi, then it is Tatastha Lakshan. But if you say Avasthatraya Tita, then it becomes Atad Vyavritti. Now understood? Right. So now these are, so this one definition of Atma has all the 3. Shankaracharya has given all the 3. First 2 are Atad Vyavritti, then the second are Tatastha, and then the last one is Swarupa. Swarupa Lakshan. Now, what is given in conclusion is very important, that these are to point out the Atma to the seeker. This is only to understand how to turn the attention within and then experience the Atma. That can happen only through contemplation. No amount of discussion and arguments, etc. will make me realize the Atma. I have to actually sit and learn to turn the attention away from body, mind, intellect, beyond the 5 koshas, and experience the Atma, the self. So that is what is the methodology. For that contemplation to be steadily done, this whole chapter and everything is given. So that is the experiential learning one has to go through. The last 2 verses given here for reflection, Atma Chaitanyam Ashritya Dehendriya Manodhiya. They are only to reinforce what we already learned. This Deha, Indriya, Mana and Buddhi, all of them, they are dependent on Atma. Swakiyartheshu Vartanti. They engage with their respective objects. Surya Lokam Yatha Janaha. Just like the sun. Like the sun rises and people become active and they all depend on the sun. Sun doesn't make them do anything. In the same way, Atma doesn't make the BMI do anything. But in the presence of Atma, BMI gets active and starts engaging with its own objects. The next one is says, Anapan Nirvikaraha Sannayas Kanta Vadevaya Buddhyadin Chalayet Pratyak Soham Ityavadharaya. That no one, I should know myself to be that innermost self that that makes the intellect function just like the magnet makes the iron fillings. The iron fillings get that attractive power. In the same way, Buddhi gets the power to function because of presence of Atma. So that is this chapter. These 2 are answering the question. Don't forget that there are 7 questions asked in the beginning. So, ko asau anatma paramaka atma. Tayor viveka katham etad uchatam. This much is covered. In the beginning was ko nama bandha katham eshagata katham pratisthasya katham vimoksha. So what is bondage? From where did it come? How does it sustain? Those 3 will be covered in the next 3 chapters. Why? Because first the Atma has to be known. First Anatma is known, then Atma is known. Now we understand what will be the bondage. And then the liberation part will come. Right. So any questions in lesson 8 and 9? Yeah. Existence. Yeah. No, effulgent. See, so effulgence, we should not think in terms of brightness, brilliance, effulgence, form. No. Effulgence means that which exists on its own, what we just spoke. It doesn't require any medium to know itself. Like when we say the sun is self-effulgent, the nature of sun is light. The nature of this bottle is not light. So the bottle is not self-effulgent. Or the tube light is not self-effulgent. Tube light needs electricity to give light. If electricity is not there, it will not give light. But the sun doesn't require anything to give light. Nature of sun is light, effulgence. So we call it self-effulgent. Now to see the sun, do I require any other candle? I don't, because the nature of sun is light. But to see this bottle in the dark, I need a candle. So the nature of Atma is illumination and knowledge. Atma does not require any other medium to know it, which is what we just discussed, that body, mind, intellect are not required to know the Atma. Body, mind, intellect requires the Atma for it to function. But we don't need the BMI to know the Atma. Because in the deep sleep state, BMI doesn't exist, but I still feel Aham Asmi, I am. That Aham Asmi is the self-effulgent nature of Atma. BMI borrows the effulgence from Atma, but Atma by itself is self-effulgent. That's what it means. Whatever word we want to call, self-reliant, self-effulgent, self-brilliance, whatever. But don't imagine it in terms of light. Generally, effulgence we experience in terms of external light. Yeah. Yeah. So it's not light. It is the experience of existence. I am. I am. Correct. 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 So yes, only when the person realizes it will perish, and where it will go, back to where it came from. So the gross body came from the gross five elements. So the gross body goes back to gross five elements. Subtle body came from subtle five elements. Subtle body goes back to subtle five elements. But as long as the vasana, which is the cause of subtle body, is there, this will go from one gross body to another to fulfill the desires. In the state of meditation, contemplation, when that person has absolutely realized the truth and abiding in that, the body will continue as long as the prarabdha of the body is there. When the body of that person drops, that is called Videha Mukti. The gross body goes back to gross five elements. Subtle body goes back to subtle five elements. Five pranas go back to Maha five pranas. The vasanas are not existing, and ignorance has already got destroyed by knowledge while realization. So causal body also is gone. That is the jivan, that is the videha mukti of that person. No, that person is not bound by anything now. There is no person actually in that state. There is only Brahman. 1 minute. Intrinsic in the sense, yes, intrinsic, like when we say Sat, Chit, Anand is the intrinsic nature of the Atma, that knowledge is intrinsic. Chit is the knowledge nature only. Like the light is the nature of the sun. In the same way, Jnana is the nature of Atma. And that's why Atma never becomes ignorant. It is a myth to think that I am ignorant actually. I identify with the BMI, so I say I am ignorant. Otherwise, Atma never becomes ignorant. Not intuitive. Actually, words cannot explain that, because mind, we will use mind to explain that. No? Yeah, so maximum we can say it is the nature. The closest word is the nature of Atma is Jnana. Swarup of Atma is Jnana. That way. Yes. Yeah, yeah. So we have to understand two levels. Exactly. Which level is that? See, we should understand levels. Now the question is that if consciousness alone is, then these five elements, etc., from where they came. See, consciousness alone exists is from the absolute standpoint. From the waker standpoint, waker's mind alone exists. Dream does not exist at all from waker standpoint. But from the dreamer standpoint, the dream world exists, no? But from where the dream world came? Waker's mind only. Waker's mind only appears as the dream world. These five elements also came from consciousness. How? From Maya. You remember? From Brahman, using the power of Maya, becomes Ishvara, and that Ishvara creates these five elements. All of them are actually appearances of Brahman only, but in grossified form. So we have actually forgotten that Brahman and got identified with his body. Otherwise, body is also Chaitanya Atma only in the grossified form. But today, I don't know there are two. I know only body. I have forgotten Atma. So these are levels. In first level, I know body, but I don't know Atma. So in level 2, we said, no, body is different, Atma is different, body is enlivened by Atma. And one Atma is there in all bodies. Then when I focus on the Atma, I come to level 3, where I realize that Atma alone is there, body doesn't even exist. It's the state when a person has woken up. When the person wakes up, what happened to the dream? Dream disappeared, but what is the realization of that person? The entire dream was my mind only. The whole universe is me only. That is the state of realization. As a sadhak, my state is to discriminate. So in the first state, body, mind, intellect is Atma, I don't know. Second one, body, mind, intellect, you want to separate from the Atma. That is the state of Vivek. Third is the state of Jnana. That Atma alone is and Atma only is appearing as the whole universe. Fourth is the state of complete realization where the universe disappears fully. That's the abidance in Samadhi. Entire world actually gone. One doesn't even see the world. Absolute state of realization that we woken up, finished. So that levels we should be clear in Vedanta. Yes. Tan matra means that alone. Tat matra is tan matra. So it means that one thing alone. So the space is only space. That is called tan matra. But when they become grossified, they are called the grossified five elements. Panchikrita Panchamahabhuta. Apanchikrita Panchamahabhuta is called Tanmatra because space is only space, nothing else in that. Tatmatra. That's one. Yes. So correct. Power is a gun, but that power, inherent power of the Lord, when we say Maya is inherent power of the Lord, power is the attribute of the Lord, and that's why that Lord is called Sopadik Brahman, not Nirupadik Brahman. The Brahman with attributes is Ishvara. Maya plus Brahman is Ishvara. So that is called Sopadik Brahman or Brahman with attributes. And why do we need Brahman with attributes? Because I am seeing the world from where it came. As long as I see the world, there has to be a cause. And that cause is Brahman with attributes. But when I detach from the world, from the BMI and experience the Atma, then I realize that Brahman, Maya, everything is not there. That is the Nirupadik Brahman. Absolute Brahman. In that there is no Maya, in that there is no Jiva, no Jagat, no Ishvara, nothing. Brahman alone. So that definition of that Brahman is Desha, Kala, Vastu, अपरिच्छिन्न, unlimited by space time object. Space time object come because of Maya. That is the Upadhik Brahman. And that Upadhik Brahman only then will have Sagun Sakar, Sagun Nirakar, all that. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi